We are good to go. All right, guys, welcome to the live well here this Tuesday night at Fish, North Georgia. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Got a great episode, an informative episode for you guys that are watching. And if you're watching live, hey, we appreciate it. If you watch it at a later date, we love you too. Now, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up. That really helps us with the algorithms, the ever-changing algorithm. And, of course, follow Fish North Georgia on all our social media platforms. So before we get into the sponsors, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this is what tonight's show is about. I get so many guys coming into the shop, and we're talking about rods and reels and actually figuring out what's the best rod reel combination lining off for their equipment. And you'd be surprised at how many guys just do not understand it. And, of course, every one of us is different. So we're going to kind of try to break that down. And in the comment section now, if you've got questions, this will be a really good one for you because Clint Bartlett and Dave Aldridge, of course, Alex Purrs back there, very knowledgeable. We all fish a little bit different, but we're hoping to navigate through all the choices that you guys can make. So got you guys in the comment section. Hello. So that'd be a good one. Make sure, like I said, throw them questions and comments out there. But let's go ahead and take care of business. Alex, if we can, we'll start off, of course, with Trent Palmer and the guys down at Sonar Pros, 770-530-4505, located off Highway 369. Again, guys, the number one best installer of your electronics in the state of Georgia, bar none. This is where the pros take their boat. And I was down there last week in his new shop. A lot more room, and I'm telling you, there are boats there. It's full. He's very busy, so it's by appointment only. So definitely go ahead and give them a call and get it done right. Again, you can take it elsewhere, but you're going to end up taking it to Trent to get it fixed. So might as well start with him first. And then, of course, our buddy Kevin Underwood, the Megalodon Slayer right there with Lip Sticker Fishing. You see it on Facebook every single day. He's putting his clients on big spotted bass. So check him out. You can get him on Facebook or go to lipstickerfishing.com and book a trip with him today. And listen, he also does the sonar and everything else. If I'm going for the Megalodon, the big old spotted bass. So, and I've been on the boat with him. You will love it. And, of course, you can see right here in front of me, we'll talk about these guys tonight. Evolve rod sleeves from Evolve Fishing. The best, by far, number one rod sleeve out there on the market today. I'm starting to see a lot of cheap knockoffs. Listen, guys, it's an American company. This is where you want to buy from it and protect your investment in your rods. The best. They float. You're not going to get your hooks when you throw them all in your rod locker and everything. It's just the best. And, again, we're supporting an American company right there. So Evolve Fishing. Got them right here at Fish North Georgia. Got a new shipment coming in this week. All right, and again, with all the money we spend on these lures, got to have a good plug knocker. The best out there is the Money Saver Lure Retriever. Listen, I know a lot of guys like the cheaper ones. Don't get me wrong. You can get them. This thing right here, though, the design and everything proves itself over and over and over again. The thing goes through the water like a torpedo, and the way it's designed, that weight is going to hit your bait and get it loose. So the Money Saver Lure Retriever, get them at fmgo.com or here at the store. You guys missed it last week. We had the legend on right there, Mr. Bill Payne Guide Service. Does Allatoona. If you want to check out Allatoona, that's his specialty lake. He does other lakes by special appointment. And also, if you want a smallmouth trip, he does those seasonally as well. Guy's got more experience than anybody I know on the water, and he will give you a master class on your sonar. 706-280-2305. One of the nicest guys out there, Bill Payne Guide Service. And, of course, we got a young gun. If you guys follow Fish North Georgia, the Fish North Georgia page, anywhere around here, Brooks Anderson Fishing, Lake Lanier Specialist. All right, this kid is an up-and-comer. He is one kind of hammer and a great guy. Talked to a lot of people that have been with him. He specializes in your high schoolers, too. If you got an up-and-coming angler, he wants to actually be a part of their journey from the start of their fishing all the way and try to get them up into college. He does sonar trips, and if you're really interested in figuring out the spotted bass on Lake Lanier and what they do and why they do it, BrooksAndersonFishing.com is where you want to go. So appreciate all those guys. And, if you have a business and you want to help it get the word out using our platform, contact me here at Fish North Georgia, and we'll get you set up and try to increase your business like that. So, of course, to my right, I got the Mr. Good looking right there, Clint Bartlett. It's funny because to my right, I got Kevin on Thursday nights and you on Tuesday nights, and you're just a beautiful human being.
Well, I hope I look as good as he does one day.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah.
Listen,
yeah.
if I make it to 70 and I look that good, ooh, baby, watch
like
out.
it.
I'm
I
telling
like
you. And of course, to my left, we got Dave Aldridge. He's been on here before and very knowledgeable. He likes Gunnersville. I don't know why, too much grass, but he's a Gunnersville man. And of course, back there, now your camera's a little messed up back there if you notice in the thing. See, look at that. I can't get all them lines off of you tonight for some reason, but Alex Purz is back there. So, anyway, all right, couple of announcements. All right, Fishes of Hope. They couple things. Number one, I want to make sure I read this. Now they got their tournament. No, is that what's today's date?
Today's the 26th.
26. So they had that tournament already. What we're doing, they paid for an entry fee into the Toys for Tots tournament. We're going to be drawing for that tonight. Probably about 8:30-ish, 8:35. We're going to do that drawing. They've come on as a sponsor of the show as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about them as well. So let's also do the Toys for Tots. Okay. December 7th. It's going to be a big tournament. November 29th. That's just a few days away. Is the end of the pre-registration. I've been telling you guys, you're going to blast off in the order that you get signed up. So if you want to ensure an earlier, and I'm just going to say earlier because we've got quite a few signed up, launch, you want to go ahead and get pre-registered. And plus, you ain't got to mess with it the morning of, because I can tell you the way Lake Lanier anglers are, a lot of them are going to show up the morning of to sign up. $5,000 first place prize is brought to you by Digital Sportsman and a lot of other fine sponsors. And next week, each day on the page, I'm going to be talking about each one of those sponsors as we get into the coming up into the tournament. And of course, we here are going to be broadcasting the weigh-in live, going live at 2 o'clock, and the weigh-in starts at 3 o'clock. There will be a raffle there that you can buy tickets of. And again, listen, it's all for the Toys for Tots for Hall County. And the whole purpose of this thing is to have some kids just have a smile on their face that, might not have happened without us helping out a little bit. That's what it's all about. But there's going to be some great prizes. Just a lot of fun. $80 entry fee, $60 to the pot, $20 to big fish. And that is going to pay for places 2 down, depending on the number of boats. So you can go to Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, or you can come here at Fish North Georgia and get signed up. And if you are out of the area and you want to fish this, you can contact me on Messenger, on Facebook, Danny Pro, or you can give me a call or text at 678-283-6700. So, if you're in the comment section and you're fishing it, put it in there. We'd like to know. I can tell you there's some really well-known fishermen are going to be fishing it. And so, hey, listen, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. But at the end of the day, it's all about the kids, and that's what we're here for. Got to bring a unwrapped toy. And if you're not fishing it, come to the weigh-in anyway and bring some toys. That's what it's all about. So I'll be interviewing some of the Marines before the tournament, some of the sponsors, and just going to be a great time. And I hope that we can help Big Shanty Bassmasters make this an annual event. And that's the whole goal for everything. So got a couple of things with tonight's show. Again, we've already talked about it. What we're going to talk about is equipment and all that. About 8:45, I got a couple of guys that are going to come on for a few minutes and talk about a new kayak fishing league or series. We're going to give them a few moments. But listen, tonight's show, we're going into Thanksgiving. That's this Thursday. There will be no show Thursday night. So this is it. So I want to go ahead and from Fish North Georgia and from all the guys here at the Live Well, I want you to have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family. And eat a lot. Watch some football. Go fishing. It's going to get cold. Do you see the weather for Friday and Saturday this week?
It's going to be real chilly, and I'm going fishing because why not?
They're going to bite. I might go deer hunting.
Or they're not.
One or the other. Hell, that happens every time.
Yeah.
But again, here in a few minutes, we'll do the Fishers of Hope. We're going to draw for the winner of that. And so, again, we appreciate Fishers of Hope and all that. So, I kind of gave you guys a broad brief, I guess, swipe of what we want to talk about tonight. And that is choosing the right equipment for the right purpose. I see guys all the time come in here. I've seen guys come in here with a spinning rod and have a bait caster on it. I've seen guys that have a small spinning reel, but they got, like a 200 series or something, but they got 90-pound braid on it or, big. We want to kind of try to answer those questions and just kind of talk about it. So I'm going to throw a good softball question to Clint to start. You know, let's talk about action. That's one
Mhm.
thing that's kind of misunderstood.
For sure.
Fast down to just medium or whatever.
Mm,
So kind of give me in your mind, because every rod company is a little bit different.
for sure.
And so one company's medium heavy is different than another one's, and one's fast is a little bit different. But when you see the way they got, we're talking about tip speed now.
Mhm.
Kind of give me a broad overview for those and get the conversation started.
Okay, so when you're talking about a rod's action, it's all how does that rod behave when it comes to performing on the cast, when it comes to performing on the hook set, just the overall taper of that rod and how it bends to present that bait, to work that bait, to use that bait, to load up on that fish, to land that fish. That's one thing that we all really don't think about is we're like, okay, this is a rod. It can cast this bait. I can kind of feel my jig on the bottom. And when I get bit, I land the fish. Sometimes I lose the fish. Well, a lot of the times the taper of the rod and how the rod's built determines how you land the fish. So when you think about, I was really introduced to this by Jake Boomer from Alpha Angler. He was really talking about how he builds his rods to land the fish. So you have a little bit more give in that taper, whether it be a drop shot rod or a jig rod or whatever. So when you're reaching down trying to land that fish, you have enough give for when that fish dives down, and when you're on the boat side trying to land that fish, you have enough give in that rod to leave that hook in the roof of that fish's mouth where you want those hooks.
Right.
So when you're thinking about the taper and the action, a lot of guys, you'll see a guy pick up a rod in a tackle shop and he'll immediately put it on the ground.
They all do.
He'll find something to check the taper. So what you're doing when you're looking at the taper, what are you looking for at the end of the day? You're seeing how that rod behaves under load. So when you have that action, when you have that weight on that rod, how does it behave? How does it bend? Does it bend more to the tip? So that would be a faster action, or does it bend more down into the rod and into the handle? I mean, you can have a BFS rod where you feel like the guides are touching the back of your hand when you're loaded up on a small fish. Like, so it definitely differs depending on the rod, spinning rods, bait casters, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about the taper of the rod, how it handles the bait you're trying to present, and then ultimately how it loads up to land that fish, get that fish in the boat, and get you catching more.
So, like if you have a fast tip, now if you look at a chart, fast tip is the least of the bend. It gets back the quickest from straight, on the load. Then you go like medium fast and get on down. For an all-around rod, and then, Dave, you can answer this. So if somebody just wants an all-around rod, generally I hear somebody say medium heavy, mod fast, something like that. I mean, what would be your example of an all-around bait cast rod for just any application? And I'll get to Luke Turner's question right here in a second. I see a couple of them up there, but let's talk about that.
Yeah, I look for more of mine. I'm kind of in that mod fast region. I look at it a little differently than Clint does. For me, I pick a rod more so for the cover I'm fishing, more so than the bait presentation. So, for instance, if I'm throwing a jerkbait, I have one certain jerkbait rod I throw when I'm on Lanier. Do I throw that same jerkbait rod on Guntersville? I do, but depending on where I am and the cover I'm fishing, I may bump it up to a heavier action or a faster action, a slower action, so that I can, when I get the fish hooked, I can get the fish away from whatever cover it is.
Right.
That's kind of the way I do it.
Right.
So you're based more on power than you are on the overall taper or the technique.
Yeah, so I get that. And that's the cool thing about it. When I knew we were going to talk about this is I knew good and well there's going to be, and people in the comment section, everybody's going to have their own different, because there's really not their own different answer. There's really not.
There's no right.
There's
no
right
or wrong.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and hit Luke's comment right there. His question. Luke Turner, appreciate you, buddy. What's the best line for a spinning reel to not have line twist? And my first thought, and again, you guys are the experts, but my first thought is you got to start with how you put it on the reel
100%.
first.
Yes.
So you can get away with mono, floor, or whatever if there's certain ways that you do a spinning reel that are different than a bait caster. One of the things, and this is, I've seen videos on YouTube, and I always find it interesting. Let's just say a lot of guys, we got kids, and we'll just have the kid stick a pencil through it, and they really. Some videos say if you're doing a bait caster, the line needs to come off the top. If you're doing a spinning rod, the line needs to come off the bottom. Now, I don't know what the science is, but I know when you put it in those little rod kind of, they make them little tools. It's just the way it spins. But as far as line, is there one line that's better than another as far as not twisting on a spinning rod?
Well, I mean, with any of your mono or fluorocarbon, you're going to have some twist depending on how you load it onto the reel. Braid is where you ultimately. That's why a lot of guys have switched to braid on their spinning reels.
Yeah.
It's also about like you got to focus on which way your spool is facing when you put it on the reel, or you will still have line twists. But like where you run into problems with braid is the wind knot is a lot worse than if you get. I mean, you can get them on fluorocarbon or monofilament as well. But if you put the braid on right and you use premium braid, like if you use a good braid, like if you use, you get what you pay for at the end of the day with fishing line, I would say 80% of the time. So like there's always that 20% where you can spend a little bit extra on a certain brand and it's actually made in the same factory as the one that's $20 less.
Yeah.
So when you get to thinking about line, you do get what you pay for the most part. So keep that in mind. And when you think about like a premium braid, like a cast braid, I don't want to be talking about cast braid all the time, but it's what I've literally switched everything over to because I value it as a premium braid that casts farther. It's more efficient for me. And so the way that like I've kept it on my spools for literally years since the prototyping phase of the braid, and it's held up. Like it doesn't break on me. I haven't had problems. So like in fishing, a lot of times if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So for me, I think that's something. But when you come to a guy with grass, like I'd love to hear how, like when you're working braid with grass, like do you deal with line twists at all? Are you focusing on a premium braid, or are you respooling more with a lesser or maybe a little bit cheaper of a braid, but it's more like abrasion resistant?
I use everything I have is I throw the Sunline SX1, 16 pound. I usually leave it on a year. It's actually pretty economical because they sell the 600-yard spools.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day I was asking Drew about, hey, can you get a big spool? And he's like, yeah, I wish I could get, it comes in a bigger spool.
Mm-hmm.
I can spool up, I think one 600-yard spool spools all my spinning rods up for a year. I think it's like $60 or $70.
Yep.
I have not had it break. I have not had it twist. The only time you will do it, only time I've seen people have real issues when braid to fluoro is if they don't trim their tag ends of whatever knot tight.
Yep.
If you don't do that, it'll make a little knot, and then that's what will wind knot them.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but even with braid, you can visibly sometimes see the line twist, but it doesn't affect it like it would a fluoro or
no,
a mono.
it doesn't. And
so we can twist.
I actually throw probably a longer leader than anybody in here. We could probably take two guys in here, and my leader is probably longer than both of y'all.
I throw about a 20-foot.
I'm probably 30. I'm up, down, and 3 wraps.
Yeah.
And I cut it the length of the rod. So I throw a pretty long leader. But even up in that grass, I mean, when we fished up there, I throw a spinning rod up there a lot. I've caught some big ones up there. I've not had any issues with it twisting, breaking.
So I would venture to say the biggest thing is not so much. Granted, you say, hey, let's get a better line. Of course, don't get the cheapest line in some circumstances, but it's more of how you put it on.
For sure.
And that's what starts, especially if you want to go. And I'm braid to fluoro.
Yep.
I don't throw straight anything on a spinning rod anymore.
No.
For that reason, because I used to get a lot of line twists, but I do know that and there's a ton of YouTube videos out there. I don't know that any of them is the exact perfect solution, but
you got to figure out
that's
what works for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
But when I put braid on, I don't worry about line twists.
I only throw straight braid on a spinning rod in one certain application.
And what's that?
A 1/4 ounce or an 1/8 ounce buzz bait.
Yeah.
At Gunnersville, I throw it on straight braid. I throw it on a medium action rod.
I got you.
And it doesn't twist.
Hey, scroll up to Mr. Wu-Tang up there. I love it when we get comments like this. Big fan showing love again from the good side of Hartwell. Love this podcast. Much love from Greenville, South Carolina. Man, Wu-Tang, hey, we appreciate you, dog. We love anytime we get somebody from out of state. I believe Steve Titsworth in the comment section. I think he's a Tennessee boy too. And I might be wrong, Steve, but I think that's where you're from. We love the fact that people outside of the state of Georgia are tuning into this podcast. It means a lot. So thank you. Let's see. There's Steve. Great info already. Happy Thanksgiving. Again, happy Thanksgiving to all you guys out there. Without you guys, this show ain't nothing because it definitely ain't about the host. So let's pull up that guy. Got him. Gotta love these names. What's the best spinning setup for a jigging minnow? That's right down your alley, ain't it?
Yeah, I like fishing a minnow.
A minnow. What's the setup for your minnow?
I would say, so it really became more of, I was just throwing it on a 7-foot spinning rod, medium or medium light. And then, when it really started picking up and I was hanging out with guys talking about having a shorter rod, the benefits of a shorter rod, as far as actually tickling that cricket. So I switched over to a 6-7, medium. And so you get a little bit more of a hook set into that fish. I'm fishing a little bit shorter of a leader. A lot of guys, like when you look back at the Bassmaster Elite Series on Toledo Bend and Fork, when their jig head minnow was a really prominent bait selection, these guys are pulling them out of big timber and they're big fish. So that's when you saw the guys throwing literally a 15-pound leader on that. I like a 10-pound, like when we're talking Lake Lanier, Clearwater, spotted bass. I'll go a little bit longer of a leader. I'll go 6 or 7 foot FG knot, cast braid, and make it work with that. But it's all about how you
not snob FG knot.
Well, so
you guys that can tie.
I didn't know how to tie an FG knot until I was literally I was on an offshore boat for 12 days, and that we had 2 days of a ride. So we had to for 48 hours, we were in the boat so I called it a cabin knot. It was one you learned in the cabin. I sat there, and it's way easier to learn with bigger braid. So I was doing 60-pound braid to a 50-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I was learning how to do the FG, and I just kept tying it, and then I eventually got it because I've been nautically challenged with knots. I was for a long time it was improved clinch or nothing, and because that's what my grandpa taught me when I was a kid. And then I kept breaking off. And then I was tying a double uni all through college. And then literally last winter is when I learned an FG knot. And it's once you start tying it and getting faster with it, it's taken me this long, a year, to where I feel like I'm confident and can tie it in under a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating, but like once you actually get it sealed, I don't find myself changing the knot before every single tournament all the time. Like I'm still being able to rock with the same knot, the same leader, cut it down a little bit. And it's worked for me to where I haven't had it fail on me very often. So that's why I like the FG. But it's really whatever works for you. And what is the risk that you're willing to take? Right. So like, did you just break off a fish and there's a big school there? Yeah. I'll tie a quick double uni knot just to get another bait out there and get in there. But if you have the time, night before the tournament, that kind of stuff, that's a real good time to get your knots in line and make sure that you're ready to rock and roll. But then when it comes brush pile season, you're hung up in a brush pile and you snap your knot, then you feel like that rod's almost out of commission. So that's where I kind of like to have a couple extra rods in the box for if I'm in a tournament situation and that's something that comes up, you have that option, pull out another rod and keep on going.
Yeah, I tease you guys because my fat ass fingers can't tie anything.
It's not
that's
easy.
That's just been on, and Dave he ties it. So all right, let's pull up Got 'em Gang Ken. So we go from that guy got him to Got 'em Gang Ken. I like it right here. So getting ready for that ditch bite. What's your favorite blade bait rod action? Now, Dave, I'm gonna let you start with this one. Do you ditch fish a lot?
Yes.
Okay. Answer that question there, dog.
I like a 7.2 medium heavy, but it's got a pretty soft tip. And that way because I get those fish, you get them hooked up, you can kind of get them out of there. A lot of times that's around timber. I like to be able to move them once I get them hooked on.
What rod do you use for it?
Falcon. It's a Falcon 7.2 number 5 power. Farmer says that's kind of my 4-wheel drive.
Does a little bit of everything, yeah.
It does a little bit of everything. For me.
I know you like that bite as well. What do you use?
Mm-hmm. So I'll either use an Alpha Angler top hammer, which is their top water rod. It's a 7-foot. It's got kind of like a shorter butt on it, but it loads up real good for treble hooks. So I like that because you can throw everything from a top water up to the size of a 20-gram OG, or you can throw small little duos. You can throw blade baits, you can spool it up with fluorocarbon and throw a 3-inch Prodigy on it on a swim bait and drag it counting rocks in the wintertime ditch fishing. So like I like that rod because you can do a lot of different things with it. So when I'm throwing a blade bait, I typically have a couple of those rods, so I can have that. I can have a Prodigy spooled up. I can have this. So like when it is that ditch time, it's a good rod, a good all around rod to do a lot with those lighter applications. So I'm talking smaller blade baits, 1/2 ounce or less.
Okay. Pull up there Cody Campbell real quick right below that. So Cody, last week, last Thursday night to be exact, Clint, I believe, won the question of the night. Remember that?
Handed it off, right?
And you handed it off. And I have not had a chance to talk to Cody Campbell Fishing yet. So Cody, Clint wants me to send last Thursday's prize pack to you because of how well you've been participating in the show and everything. And so we want to reward you. So what I need you to do is message me on Facebook with your address, and I'm going to send you the 2 packs of Lanier baits and the Spro shirt. Just need to know if you want a 2X or an extra large. So that's a very nice gesture, Clint.
For sure.
Very
It's all
sweet.
about giving back and be thankful. Like we're thankful for this show and the audience that makes this show. So, I mean,
100%.
why not give back to the audience that's giving back to us?
That's it. 100%. I love it. So there. So get in touch with me. Now let's pull up John right there. Say he's got 20-pound braid on my spinning rod. Bass fishing, throwing a worm is a braid. So it's 8-pound fluoro too small.
No.
So what do you say? So I throw. Listen, it ain't too. I throw the cast 12 with 8-pound.
Mhm.
20, 8-pound. That's not bad. That's not a bad setup.
No.
You
16 to 10.
16 to 10.
I'll throw down to 6 with a 20-pound.
Yeah, I will.
Like a 20-pound cast braid, I guess, which is thinner diameter. But
It is thinner.
I'd throw down to a 6.
So to answer your question, John, no, sir. 8-pound fluoro is not too small.
It's honestly like the butter. That butter zone is that 8-pound fluoro or 10-pound fluoro for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Coleman, I hope you don't get blown off the lake. You said up to Hartwell before Thanksgiving lunch. Be careful. There's going to be some weather. Adam W. Fishing, braid still twist 100%. It just absorbs the twist. That's what I was talking about. You still can get away with it. Do all of you spool, it's Michael Temples, all you spool your casting reels with cheaper line for the bottom of the spool. I have started using braid as a backing, similar to you would a fly reel. The reason that the guys that got me convinced in it is braid is lighter and braid will allow your reel to spin faster as a backing. Now, what about you two guys? Do you back any of your bait casters?
I back everything.
Okay,
I use 17-pound XL from Bass Pro. It's the cheapest thing I can find.
that's a braid though?
No,
Oh, just
it's mono.
Mono. So you back yours with mono?
Yeah, I just need something to fill the spool up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I'll back when it comes to bigger, like anything above a 200 size reel. But on the other ones, I'll just spool it up and hope for the best. I mean, it's like at the end of the day, as long as I got a full spool, I'll be all right.
All right. So I know the camera on you back there is messed up, Alex. But real quick, what do you back your reels
Every single one of them.
with braid?
No,
Or-
with fluorocarbon.
With fluoro. So you back yours with
Yeah.
fluoro.
Just with like junk that I have left over. I'll just go
Gotcha.
ahead and fill
Okay.
it up.
I was about to say, old boy Bougie back
He's
there.
bougie back there. Hell, he's probably got tattoos and backing back there.
No,
Yeah.
it's some key line.
Well, you buying that $40? Well, hell's more than that. Well, I need some
Gas
backing.
is cheap to fill up the kayak, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. So Bassin with Big Malone. What's up, Bassers? How you doing tonight? Appreciate you joining us right there. Cody Campbell says tickling my cricket is now in his vocabulary.
Yep.
Yeah, so you got to tickle that
Or
cricket.
You can tickle a cricket. You can crickle a ticket. There's all kinds of hanging a minnow.
Hanging a minute.
A lot of them are a lot cooler than saying mid strolling. I'm sorry, that term just like as soon as I heard it, I was like, there's got to be some type of backwoods term I can come up with. And
I ain't saying
that's when I came
mid-stroll.
up. No, that's when I came up.
Tickle
with
that
tickle.
cricket. It's a dual meaning depending on which way your brain functions right
Yep.
there. So
And Michael Temples, that is a shaker rod that I throw on that. Just saw that comment up
he's
there.
that shaker rod.
Yeah.
All right. So gone fishing with Diaz right there. My veteran friend. And again, if you are in the armed services or have been, we appreciate you guys right there. So favorite drop shot, spinning rod, length, power, and action. Now, I might differ from people, but my favorite spinning rod of all time, and I've tried some expensive ones and some cheap ones, FX makes a 7.4 spinning rod. That is my 4-wheel drive. And I know it's a little long, but I love drop shot and shaky. I can do all kinds of stuff, but I like the drop shot with that rod. I just find me being a shorter guy, a little extra length gives me a little more. I don't have to quite get as much of a pull to get that bend into the rod. So that's just me. I'm not the expert here. What about you two guys? Drop shotting.
Good.
I use
And it's a medium heavy, fast, by the way.
my drop shot is a 7-foot medium fast tip. If it's an exposed hook, if I cover up that hook, Texas rig it, like at a herring spawn, if I'm throwing a Demiki or something like that, anytime I bury that hook, I go to a 7-foot medium heavy.
Okay. Makes sense. What about you?
On the drop shot, I'm rolling a 7-footer. It's a 7.2. It's the Alpha Angler Spybait rod. I like that. They make a DSR, which stands for drop shot rod, which is their drop shot. It's just short. And like for me being a bigger guy, I like that 7.2, especially when I got them hung up around the trolling motor. If I'm dropping straight down, I like having a little bit more space away from me. Guys like Polinick, who designed the DSR, he's a little bit shorter of a guy, and he makes it work for him. And the taper just fits him better.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I like the 7.2 just because I think it fits me better. The action's great. I use 12-pound cast braid on my drop shot rod to typically a 6 to 8 pound leader.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So Bassin Malone, he uses a 7-foot medium fast for his drop shot. Richie Rock and Roll says FG all the way. Got him gang Ken. That just sounds like almost like that. What's that Korean song? That Gangnam Style.
Okay.
That sounds like that ought to be some lyrics in that. But I love it. 6'10" medium light is my favorite. The shorter rod lets you feel the tickle. Been telling my wife that for years, dog. Been telling my wife that for years. Richie Rock and Roll. Let's do this, and then we'll do the draw on Fishes of Hope after this question right here. Hover strolling setup. I don't do it. You do it?
Yeah, so that's kind of what we just talked about. So that 6-7 shaker is what I use for the hover strolling setup.
I just wanted to make sure of that. What about you? You
I'm
hover stroll?
Yeah, I'm a 7-foot medium.
7-foot medium. So a lot of parabolic bend in it.
Yeah.
So that's what you're getting. All right, let's pull up Fishers of Hope right here. We want to welcome them to the show. Fishers of Hope, their mission is to glorify God, be servants of his word, and to bring those in need of peace and hope that only he can bring. Now, this ministry hosts benefit fishing tournaments to help people in need. If you'd like to participate, donate, or know someone in need, contact us at Fishers of Hope Ministry at gmail.com. And again, last week, they threw a tournament to help out the people up in North Carolina. So pop it back on me there, dog. And so what we're going to do right now, we are going to draw. I'm going to let Dave draw a name out of the hat. This name, you need to get in touch with me. Your spot has already been paid for in the December 7th Toys for Tots tournament, brought to you by Digital Sportsman, Big Shanty Bassmasters, Fish North Georgia, and a host of others. So, without further ado, give me a name right there.
All right.
We need to get some sound effects for this thing, don't we? Pick a name and read it out loud. Yeah, I did make them small, like I really. Who you got?
I can't read your right.
Oh, listen.
Keith somebody.
Keith Ridenhour. Keith Ridenhour. If you're watching, you got the entry fee. And if for some reason Keith can't, I'm going to say the rest of the names. Hell, we'll draw again before the thing. So, but Keith Ridenhour, if you're watching, you won the Fishers of Hope slot for the Toys for Tots tournament. And man, listen, it's going to be a great event. And I want to thank Fishers of Hope, number one, for the work they do out in the community. All right. That's the big guy upstairs ought to be important in all of our lives. And so getting that, taking your time, talents, and treasures and getting out in the world and doing stuff, that's absolutely awesome. So I probably should have done that joke about tickling right before then. So I apologize, you guys up there. So I love you. They already know I'm the heathen. So, but I'm in church every Sunday. Here we go. Let's pop it out. What's the next one? Is it at a W Fisher? He says, pull him up anyway. For a drop shot, he likes the Phoenix M2 medium with an extra fast tip.
Nice.
So there you go. And Josh Ballard loves this podcast. So we love you too, man. Absolutely. It's all about, we're going through the comments. It's all about what hand you have, what you have on your hand and left over. Now, I'm sure that was from something earlier.
I think we're talking about backing.
The backing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Listen, sometimes we get talking so long, and you guys are throwing up comments so fast, and we got to catch up.
Congrats on that fish. That's a heck of a bass.
22 3/4 inch bass here. Now, listen, you kayak guys kill me.
That's a big one.
Okay, it is a big one. Alex, you're the kayak expert. What is a 22 3/4 inch bass?
5 or 6.
What should it
Yeah,
equate
probably
to?
5 or 6.
5 or 6. Well, there you go, John G. Congratulations on that.
It
So,
weighed a little over 8, he said.
a little over 8. Well, holy shit, it must have been a
Damn.
spot.
Yeah.
So a little over. Hey,
Fat
listen,
one.
it was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It was healthy right there. All right. So, what's the next one? Of course, hover rig.
Yeah.
So we talked about what you guys do, but what about any tips on the hover rig?
Tips on a hover rig. It's all about the weight. So, like, if you really want to go learning a hover rig or a jig head minnow or something like that, you need to go out with 4 spinning rods and rig up a couple different weights and see how the fish are reacting. It depends on the depth of the fish, where they're at in the water column, how you're presenting that bait. Go out and learn it. Like I'm about to do it this week just to try to get better at it, is just put 4 spinning rods on the deck, a couple different heads, a couple different minnows, and see what happens. So the best way, ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Ain't nothing to it but to do it, dog. Michael Temples, question for Clint. What's your favorite rod from Alpha? This sounds like it's going to be a commercial. I've got 15 of them and love them all. I've not fell in love with the clutch yet.
So my favorite rod is actually sitting right here.
Yeah, you
slide her down.
can slide her down.
So this is the Alpha Angler Zilla. This is it's a 7.3 medium heavy fast, and it is the most versatile rod I own. I've been in the back of the boat with people and only had a couple of rods. This one always is there. So it's one of my favorite jig rods. I was caught literally like 25 fish on Chattoog this weekend on it, cracking the hook on a jig. But what I've been playing around with after Will Harkins came on the show talking about mono is I put some 15-pound big game on this
Heck
thing.
yeah,
And
baby.
I've been setting the hook and catching some bass. It's been a lot of fun. But a lot of times I will fish like a 12 to 15-pound fluoro on this setup, especially like when the water gets a little colder. I want to downsize my line a little bit. But you can literally throw an underspin. You can throw a spinner bait. You can throw literally just about anything you can think of. I've thrown an OG on this rod. I'll spool it up with 20-pound fluoro, throw an OG on it. You can throw literally so many different things on this rod. So this is the most versatile. They're actually on sale right now. It is Black Friday. So everybody be looking out for the sales. Anything we're talking about, most of it's on sale, whether it be through go support your local tackle shops first. But if you see some good deals online, jump on them.
Oh, yeah, you got to do that. So Kevin Thornton, he's late. But how come I'm not making Dave sing? You had me sing. We might do that for the show's over with.
Yeah,
Kevin.
I think he needs to.
We might make him sing because Clint, you've sang.
It was rough.
Kevin sang. We might make Dave sing before the night's over with. If you did sing, would it be country, pop, rap? What would you do?
It would have to be country, but I don't know the words enough to anything to sing anything.
We'll give them to you.
Oh my Lord! So there you go, Richard Smith.
I'm a listener.
He's a listener, not a singer. Listen at him. Anyone use a Picasso shaky vibe when dragging a straight tail worm?
Yes.
I do not. You do, Dave. All right. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a really, really good bait. I haven't caught them that well on Lanier, any of these herring lakes, but at Gunnersville is kind of where it was created. Lonnie Cochran was one of the guys that kind of started that. It's really good over there. It's kind of like a chatterbait, but it's got a worm on the back of it. So I've caught some big ones. I've caught just a bunch of fish on it. I know they catch them on Smith too. All those spots over there. So it's been really good to me over there.
Okay, I got that. Perfect. So, all right, Ryan Sheffield. Hot dang, I knew this question might come up if he showed up. What's the best buzz bait rod, reel, and line setup, especially for a double blade buzz bait? Now, that's not me, so that's you.
That's all you.
That's you there, Dave. So what do you use in that situation?
I will tell you this, Ryan. I don't throw a double bait buzz bait, but if I had to, I throw it on a Falcon 7-foot number 5. I throw a 6-2-1 Shimano Curado reel, and I throw straight 17 fluoro.
Ryan, what's your setup? If you don't mind popping it back in the comment section, and we'll get back down around to it there. So Tony Watkins, what's your setup for a Sebile or a Spro swimmer? Now, I would imagine, I'm gonna guess, the rod you guys are throwing, this rod's gonna have a little more parabolic bend so that it loads up a little bit.
Mhm.
But what about your reel, the speed of the reel, and the rod?
So I definitely like it's actually right here if you don't mind sliding this one down. So what's cool about this rod, this is the Alpha Angler Chatterbound. So it's basically
Chatterbound?
Chatterbound. Yeah,
okay.
so it's built for chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, all that stuff. But what's cool is it's basically the same exact blank as that Zilla I was talking about, but the last 18 inches is S-glass. So instead of having fully graphite, the last 18 inches of that rod is S-glass. So what that does is it improves your sensitivity and also gives it a little bit more give for those treble hook baits like a Sebile. So I'll throw a Sebile on this rod. Also for a chatterbait, you're thinking about winding it in open water and they kind of like step on it. They like load up onto it. A lot of times I'm real bad to set the hook early. It kind of compensates for if you're going to set the hook early, pull it out of their mouth. It gives them a little bit extra time to load. Whereas if I'm throwing a chatterbait on a Zilla or something like that, and I go to jerk, I'm going to pull it out of their mouth. So this kind of gives me that extra second to kind of plant those hooks. So Sebile Magic Swimmer, I love throwing this Alpha Angler Chatterbound. I want to say it's a 7.2 medium heavy.
What speed
fast.
reel you using?
So this is a SLX DC. It's just a 7.2.
Okay.
But I like something a little bit faster. I'm not I will say I'm not super technical when it comes to reels. I'll get something in the 7-ish range and I'm pretty much comfortable with it. And I kind of do the extra work. But when it is coming to like deep cranking or big swim baiting or something like that, that's when I'll really dial in and try to get either like a slower reel for something like that. But it's really whatever works for you. Like through the fatigue of the day when you're going through, it doesn't matter how strong you are, how much you hit the gym. If you get on a good bite doing something, you're going to be hurting if you don't have the right rod. If your rod's not balanced properly, if you're using cheaper setups and things like that, you're going to get fatigued throughout the day. So if you're fishing long days, fishing long tournaments, that's where your nicer equipment really goes a long way, is for that fatigue. If you're working a top water all day and you're using a heavy rod that's like, it's not, you're going to feel it the next day. Especially you think about these elite guys and they're using the nicest stuff. It's because they're fishing 7 days in a row. When you think about their practice days and their tournament days, like you want something that you can throw for 7 days straight, and you want the lightest, best balance. Like a lot of people don't think about the balance of a rod. Like when you have the right counterbalance, the right weight in the butt of that rod to really make it feel like it's light. Like when I first picked up a bunch of these rods, I was like, dang, these things are so light. They're really, when you put them on a scale, they're not that much lighter than the cheaper ones. They're just balanced better. So the weight isn't in your hand as much as it is extended down the tip of the rod. So like when you think about the balance of the rod, pick up the rod. And that's one of the things that's hard. Like when you order a rod online, you don't know how it feels in your hand until you have one, right? And so like for a smaller company like Alpha, it's like they're in the Pacific Northwest. They don't have a storefront. Like they're strictly selling all their product online. So it's tough, but once you get one and you feel the balance of it, it replicates throughout the whole rod lineup. So like I can only talk about it so much, but until you feel one, you might not buy one. And I understand that completely.
Yeah.
But I will do my best as far as like talking about how it feels, how the action of the rod is, and then you can make the judgments for yourself. Go to the tackle shop, play with a bunch of different rod brands. At the end of the day, like you could have your best friend or tournament partner is all G Loomis or all one way Shimano, Daiwa, whatever the rod brand is. And you might be like, oh, I've got to get this rod just because he's got it. No, get the rod that you feel comfortable with. Get what works for you. And then that's when you can start culling up with rods. Like I've really built my rods over the past 10 years of actually considering bass fishing. Like I was using Berkeley Lightning rods that were $30 because it's all I could afford. And I started eventually culling them out. I was getting $80 Daiwa rods. And then I stepped up and I got some Daiwa Tatula Elite rods, which was in that $180 to $200 mark. And then I graduated up to using the Alpha Angler rods. And it really makes a difference in how you fish, but also being able to have a rod that's tapered for a certain bait. Like I was using one rod for 5 different baits all the time. Like it was like,
Yeah.
This will kind of work for this. But once you start to get those streamlined setups, like especially like what I was doing a couple years ago was I would find a technique that I didn't throw very often because I didn't have the right rod. So a jerk bait was the first one, right? I didn't know how to throw a jerk bait. I didn't really throw it because I never really had the right rod. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend spend a little bit of extra money and get me a jerk bait rod, and I'm going to go out and learn it. And so I went to Chattooga, and I was in college and went out learning how to throw a jerk bait. I had a $200 Tatula Elite jerk bait rod, and it really helped me learn, like, okay, now that I have the right rod to present the bait right and work it all day working this jerk bait, I can actually have more success at the end of the day. So at the it's all about what works for you, and then work your way up. Like, you don't have to go buy a bunch of Loomises right off the bat. Are they the best rods on the market? Maybe no, they're not for you. Like, you don't know. Like, just because you spend $600 on that rod doesn't mean it's the right rod for you.
I agree with that 100%. I would say there's been more. I won't say more, but there's been plenty of bass caught on a cherry stick from Berkeley.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or an ugly stick right
Yeah.
there. So, all right. So what let's answer this next question from that guy. Got him. Top 3 baits for just killing bass. Now we're gonna assume you're talking about catching bass and not killing bass. So, top 3 baits is also determined by time of year. So let's answer that question for right now. Dave, you got 3 baits. Give me 3 baits that you think will put the most bass in the boat right now.
Shaky head, a jig, and a little swim bait.
Like a Kitech.
Yep.
Perfect. What about you?
Shaky head, a jig, and a spinnerbait.
Okay. Alex, what about you?
A shaky head, a jig, and an underspin.
Okay. So basically the same thing. I will go a shaky head, and a shaky head.
Yeah.
That's all you need, man. You can
But what's funny is that's just this area, right?
That's
like,
true. Yeah. Like in
like,
Alabama, it might be different.
It's so like people are like, no, Texas rig, a drop shot, and a swim bait. Like, it's so funny. Like, it's very much dependent on where you're at.
Yep.
Like, I didn't know what a shaky head was when I got to college, and I was like, what do you mean a shaky head? And like, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, what? Like, it doesn't. It's not like a chatterbait would be closer to being a shaky head to me than
because you were just thinking of the term.
Yeah, like it didn't make sense. So I just called it a shaky noggin, and I just sit there and drag it like everything else.
But I think you could equate that to a worm,
Yep,
a jig, and a small swim bait.
Yep, something that represents a bait fish.
And that works a lot in a lot of different places.
100%.
And of course, yeah, you're right. It is depending on whether you're largemouth fishing. It's like you threw a spinner bait in there, a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You went the swim bait route, and I know like you like the A-rig and stuff like that. Which I'm telling you, the question of the night tonight, you're going. If you answer right, you're going to get a Georgia Blade A-rig, 5-arm A-rig, and these new ATX tungsten jig heads. And the cool thing about this is 5-pack. And so when Kyle Reeves of ATX was talking about getting into these heads, I said, you know what? Nobody does a 5-pack. And he was like, well, what's the point with that? I said, a lot of guys like to get these things, and you can throw it as a ball head jig, but a lot of guys like to buy these as for A-rigs. And I'm like, most guys throw 5-arm A-rig. Right there. You can get an A-rig and a pack of hooks, and you're set up ready to go, as opposed to buying 2. And his tungsten's very affordable. They're $9.99 here at Fish North Georgia for 5 jig heads with BKK hooks right there. So in a second, we're going to bring on the guys from, I believe it's Slay Nation. We're going to let them tell you a little bit about their new kayak series coming up. We're going to answer one more question before we get to that. And then right after that, we will do the Serve IT question of the week. So Josh Ballard, what colors would y'all use for a swim jig in your area? And that's a question for everyone. And I would say this, I'm going to let you guys answer that. That depends to me, and I might be wrong, on whether you're targeting brim eaters or you're targeting herring eaters, whether you're fishing grass or whether you're fishing rock or docks like that. So you're a Gunnersville guy. I imagine they do throw a swim jig out there a lot.
Yeah.
So in a grass lake, what colors would you throw in a swim jig?
I usually throw green pumpkin, and then there's another one is green pumpkin, and it's almost like a sungill kind of color. That's really good. And then they make one, it's not white, it's got some silver. It's silvery, it's got some white in it. I throw that one. They seem to bite it better than they bite just a white one. Even my chatterbait, there's the same color I get in a chatterbait, I catch them better than I do in white.
Yeah.
So green pumpkin and then some sort of like sunfish, a little the big brim that you catch.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some orange in it and stuff like that. And then I throw that silvery looking color.
And when you're throwing that green pumpkin one, I think you're targeting more largemouth.
I'm targeting
fish.
largemouth on all three of those.
All three of those. Okay, perfect. All right. What about you?
Uh,
You throw a swim jig a lot?
I don't throw it a whole lot, but if I do, it's pretty much offshore, just scoping with one. So I'll throw like a more finesse type of swim jig, so like a 1/4 ounce. I like the 6 cents swim jig pretty good because you can. It's kind of more of a low profile. The skirt's not huge, and I can put like a little tiny Echo 3.5 on the back or something like that, and be able to just any type of straight tail fluke on the back and have that smaller compact size. But when a lot of guys are throwing a jig head minnow on these herring lakes and things like that, a little bit of bulk to that minnow might help just replicate that bait fish a little better. So I like to throw it on a Zilla, just like a simple rod and scope with it. Whereas you're probably throwing it in grass and around cover. So you can do a lot of different things with a lot of these different baits. And that's what's cool about fishing.
Okay, absolutely. Pull up John G's comment real quick before I get to our guest real quick. Danny, I caught that 22 3/4 inch bass on a whopper plopper. Ha ha. Knew you'd love that. Well, John, I thought we were friends.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding, dude. Congratulations. Look, I know the thing catches fish. I just can't stand the damn bait. So, but congratulations on it. So let's say real quick. All right. So guys, I want you to pay attention for the next few minutes because these guys are going to come on. If you're a kayak guy, they're going to tell you about a new, you guys, if you can hear me, Terrell and David, y'all need to unmute yourself. Can't unmute your guests because they choose to mute yourself. If you can unmute yourself, there you go. This is Terrell Simeon. I think I said that right. And David Adamson. Now I got Terrell. I got him via picture. David, I think you might just be audio only. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. We can't see and all that. So real quick, you guys wanted to come on and tell everybody about Slay Nation Kayak Series. It's something a little bit different. So whichever one of you guys want to tell us a little bit about it, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, we starting this for the 2025 season. It is going to be a little different than some of the other clubs. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So it is going to be a little different from some of the other clubs. For one, we're going to be the only kayak club in Georgia that allows the kayaks to run double motors.
Double motors.
Yeah. So I see you got that bona fide behind you. So come on out there with us.
Jeez, man, listen. My only motor is these two arms right here. So I tell you what, I have to get somebody to get me some motors. I'll do that like that.
Yeah.
Why a double motor? What's different about that than the other leagues?
Well, it's really just because of the way that the kayak industry is going, and that the new kayaks they getting made where they can accommodate two motors. So if you could, if you invest in it and you want to use, I know I want to use mine. So that's really why, just to give people a different option to fish something different.
I got you. So David, where are we looking at with these tournaments? Where are you guys going out of?
Hold on, I'm trying to get my mic right.
I can hear you.
Mike's good.
So we can hear you, dog.
All right. We're gonna start out on Juliet,
Okay.
and then we're gonna follow up from there to let me pull it up to make sure. Altoona,
Okay.
which we'll be co-opting that with the Bass Nation, Georgia Bass Nation Kayak Series.
Okay.
We're gonna head up over to April to Hard Labor. May will be Hartwell with Queen City Bass Fishing out of Terrell. Is that North or South Carolina?
Those guys, those are South Carolina, and
That's Queen City. Yeah.
that's Queen City.
yeah.
Vinny
Carolina.
Ferrari, he runs that club. Real good guy.
All right.
So followed up, we're going to do Hickory Log on June. July will be a river brawl, so we'll have a couple different choices of rivers you can go to instead of cramming everybody in one small area. And then August will be Lake Lanier, and then the championship we'll announce that later on in the year. We're trying to figure out where we're going to go and everything like that. So that one's still to be announced.
I got you. I love my kayak guys that watch, and I like to give Alex and them a hard time and all that. But you sticking a couple motors on a kayak, man. Y'all got a boat. Y'all in a boat.
Yeah.
And y'all can move on now. Y'all
have you
probably
seen
pushing.
have you seen the XCR, the new Bonafide, the XCR?
No. I actually have a Crescent Sholey. So that was given to me by the great guys down there at Westbrook. I have not been in it yet. I've got to get it in the spring. I'm going to get in it and start fishing it. I don't fish kayaks, so this is going to be something totally new to me. But I know a lot of you guys take that stuff serious.
Yeah.
And you putting 2 motors on it. What kind of speed, just out of curiosity, can you get out of a kayak with 2 motors?
You want to get that, Dave? Dave?
Yeah. So right now, I'd say most of the guys are going to run kind of set up more like a bass boat style. So they're going to use the rear motor as their main power, and then only use a trolling motor for actual fishing. Now each his own. They do what they want. I know in the electric side of the house, which is what I spent many years in, as far as all electric, we would run multiple trolling motors in the back and then one in the front. So I don't know exactly how people are going to do it with just the kayaks. I know my intentions will be one at a time.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All right. So when is this trail starting in January, correct?
February.
February. Okay. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you to fish this, how can they do it?
We on Facebook. We have a group called Slay Nation Georgia Kayak Series. I have the page. I'm on Instagram. Dave's on Instagram. On Instagram, my name is Sham For Real. I also have the Slay Nation Georgia Kayak Series Instagram page as well. So it's ways to get in touch with one of us. We always on there answering questions, and we constantly posting. So you can get in touch pretty easily.
Well, all right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate it. We'll try to help you get the news out about this. This is a Slay Nation Georgia Kayak Series, right?
Yeah. Oh, and
Yes,
one
sir.
more. The first tournament, it may be. Me and Dave gonna talk about it some more, but we're trying to make this one a open tournament for the season opener. Because this is our first season, so give the guys just a chance to try it out before you sign up, and go full blown for the season.
All right, I got you guys. Well, I'll tell you what, best of luck to you guys. Appreciate you choosing us to come on and talk about it a little bit. If we can help you any in the future, you let us know, okay?
I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having us.
Thank you, bud. All right, there you go. If you're in that kayak game right there, hey, 2 motors right there. Ain't no paddling, ain't no daggum foot stomping or whatever you guys want to call that stuff like that. Get out there and fish. Some of them guys, man, they got like $10,000-$15,000 in a kayak, dude.
No, we
it's
don't.
a serious.
Huh?
No, we don't.
Yo, bullshit. All right. So anyway, okay. Now let's go ahead. Right before we get to Cody's, let's go ahead and take care of our Serve IT question of the week. Pull up my logo, my dear friends, right there. So Serve IT, guys, listen, if you got a country, listen, it's been a long day. We got a country. If you got a company that needs IT services, Serve IT offers a fully managed IT service covering all of your company's needs with outstanding customer service. And I'm telling you what, I said it last week. If you go down there, I've been down there to talk to Alan and the guys, the place and the processes that they've got in place for your company. It has to be the most professional, the most thought out, and customer service is their big thing. They want you to be the one stop. Not where you have to go to this company and that company. They're going to, cover your entire IT needs. And if you are a go-getter and you've ever been thinking about getting into the IT game, Serve IT is always looking for bright, energetic, outgoing people who've got a passion to succeed and want to find a good career. And so they're looking for you. Go to serveit.com, look under careers, and give it a shot. Talk to them guys. That might be something that you can get into. And Lord knows that is not going anywhere. We're going to need IT for the rest of my life, I know. Now, question. We got the question ready.
Yeah.
You got it. All right, guys. How many answers?
3.
Okay, he's trying to do his best, Kevin Thornton, but it's not quite to the Kevin's level. You ain't got to go pull out an Encyclopedia Britannica and look in the index for this. All right. 3 answers. He's going to read the question twice. All right. Then you and I are going to hit. What's the next question so we can talk about this? All right. What's your setup for a spinnerbait? That's going to be the question after this that you and I, Clint, are going to talk about while they go scroll down and wait for the right answer. You got that, Alex?
Yes, sir.
All right. Quit calling me sir, man. I ain't that old. So here you go. for a Georgia Blade, A-Rig, and an ATX Lure 5-pack tungsten head set. Complete set right here. What's the question?
All right. The 50th Bassmasters Classic. I need the lake. I need who finished third and his total weight in pounds and ounces. So in the 50th Bassmasters Classic, where was it? The lake, who finished third, and his total weight in pounds and ounces.
And you got to spell it right.
And spell it right. All right. So, Alex, you and Dave will be looking for the right answers right there.
Okay.
You and I, Clint, are going to jump to the next question from Cody Campbell about a spinnerbait setup. All right.
So, spinnerbait, like I said, this Alpha Angler Chatterbound is great for spinnerbait just because it loads up. So, like a lot of times, like a spinnerbait is one of the techniques that I learned. It was one of the first techniques that I really learned fishing around Lake Glenville up in the mountains. And what I learned was how to throw like I picked up a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait, but I really learned how to fish it real slow and fish it real efficient. So instead of casting at a lay down or just like 45 in it, I would run it real slow down the base of the lay down and was able to fade a spinnerbait. So Seth Feider talks about this a lot, is fading a spinnerbait. So what that is when you line up, boat positioning is very important. When you line up on a lay down and you are able to present that spinnerbait down that entirety of that lay down. So if I'm making a cast, I'm trying to get as close to that stump as I can, the very base of that lay down on the bank, and working it all the way down. So what you're doing is you're projecting light from the blades. You're projecting that thump, that vibration all the way down that lay down, giving you the best chance for a fish to come up and smoke it. When they do is typically around one of the arms. So when one of the forks come out on that tree, that's typically where they'll hold and or ambush that spinnerbait. So being able to have a rod that you can load up, but also have enough backbone to get you out of that cover. And so I like to fish it real slow down there, to where the reason they call it fading is you're trying to see that spinnerbait as it's on that stump, but then you want it to be just out of sight to where you can barely see that spinnerbait. So what that's doing, it's getting it a little farther down, a little bit more approachable from that bass. So if they're set up a little lower in that lay down, it gives them a little bit less distance to cover to attack that spinnerbait and get a hold of it. But also when you're thinking about, you're a little bit lower with it, right? So when they come up and smoke it, you have that when you're going to set the hook and actually have that action in your rod, you want your rod to load up, you're pulling them the right direction. They're already coming up. When they hit it and your rod loads up, you're pulling them out, versus if you're you have a little bit heavier of a rod and you have your rod tip down and they smoke it, instead of like them coming up and going down, they're already coming up with that momentum. And by the time they have that bait and you're reeling it up, you're pulling them out of that cover. So it's really important on a spinnerbait, like a fishing around cover, not just lay downs, but your docks, your cables, any type of cover on the bank. Or if you're fishing them off of a point, like you still want that load, like you want your rod to be able to load up on that spinnerbait.
I got you. I don't know what in the hell you just said, because I was looking at
Fade.
I know.
Fade the
Hey, listen,
spinnerbait.
I'm gonna tell you right now, it sounded right.
Yeah.
It sounded right. So I hope you guys got that. Now, Tony Watkins, I was honestly, I got caught looking to see who got the right answer. So Tony Watkins, Gunnersville, Stetson Blaylock, 58 pounds.
Blaylock wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay, 1 ounce. Coleman Jones, you were close. He got in just before you. Tony, message me your address, and Coleman, message me your address too. I'm feeling giving tonight. I'm gonna send you both the prize pack. Go back on up. I saw Ryan back up in the comments. Keep on going.
Yeah, he's talking about that buzz.
Yeah, keep on going, because we missed some questions, but keep on going. Keep on going. Little more. Keep on. There
you go.
Ryan Sheffield. This is his buzz bait, double-bladed buzz bait setup. 7 foot 3 inch St. Croix Mojo Glass Heavy with a 731 AB Revo, 17-pound P-Line CXX line. Ken put me up to the question, laughed my ass off. So there you go. But you know what? I've heard him talk about that. I mean, I've seen him throw it a million times. So I know that's awesome. So yeah, there's Ryan Sheffield.
I like how he's
So-
throwing it on that Copilot. Like that's a cool set.
He loves that
Dude,
stuff.
I love that stuff too. It'll
No.
pull a stump out of the water.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
don't. He absolutely loves
it's
that.
strong.
Michael Temples. Now we'll start scrolling down through the comments. Michael Temples. I've heard mod fast rods equal treble hooks.
For sure.
Makes sense. 100%.
Yep.
Dave's jerkbait rod that Danny might use. What is it?
It's a Falcon low rider weightless worm rod.
Hell yeah.
It's
That
a,
sounds like Danny.
it's a 6'7". Really, it has no tip. I mean, you can throw a jerk bait a mile. The good thing is, though, them big spots load up on it. They just sit there. You can just let them just dog, and they
Spotted
don't pull
dogs.
off.
They don't pull off.
You get one hook in him, and you pretty much
You got him. It
unle-
sticks him.
Yeah, there's so much bend in the rod. It's so parabolic.
All right. I like that. So Falcon, what now? Low rider?
Low rider,
6'7".
6'7" weightless worm rod.
Weightless worm rod. All right. So let's see. Pre. I love this podcast, guys, and I love this gear talk. But let's hear the important stuff like cornbread dressing versus stuffing, banana pudding versus pecan pie, smoked turkey versus fried. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to answer that question. First of all, oyster dressing. If you've never tried it, no, I'm not lying. Oyster dressing. YouTube it, Google it. It's not
All
for
right,
everybody.
you got to go deeper. I can't go on YouTube right now. So let's get what is oyster dressing?
It's dressing with oysters
Oysters
in it.
Dressing for what? Your turkey?
Like Thanksgiving. Like, you
make
get the
a pan of
dressing.
dressing, cornbread
like
dressing.
Like cornbread dressing, but
Okay.
it's got oysters in it. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm like Dave Chappelle. I am a dadgum fan of stovetop stuffing.
I ain't eating that.
Listen, stovetop stuffing is amazing. But if you're gonna do the dressing, you gotta do that. Now, banana pudding versus pecan pie. My wife will say banana pudding, I'll say pecan pie.
Banana pudding all day.
Banana pudding.
I'm a pie guy.
You're a pie
I'm
guy.
pecan guy.
Listen, he brought me some pie up here today too. It was a walnut surprise. I've been eating it. That's part, yeah. Smoked turkey versus fried.
Fried.
I like them both.
Oscar Mayer out of the pack.
Yeah, but I appreciate you, dadgum, joining us tonight. So that's awesome. What's the next question? Any winter night fishing suggestions?
Bundle up.
If I'll be honest, I'm snuggling up next to the old lady. I don't fish at night in the wintertime.
Dock
I love
lights.
Huh?
Dock lights.
Dock lights make sense.
Dock lights. for
Anything that would attract bait. Anything that
sure.
would
Anything
attract
that
bait.
holds heat too. So think about your clay, your rock, that kind of stuff. Dragging and bagging, son.
Dragging and bagging. But do you throw like the nighttime spinner bait like the guys do during the summertime?
Not really in the wintertime.
No.
Yeah,
No,
so
I mean,
you're going slow.
yeah, I'm thinking slow. You got to think of what's the bait doing at that time. Like what's the bait doing in the summertime when you're catching them on a spinner bait? They're moving around, they're jigging, popping, thropping, all the above. But in the wintertime, I mean, they're not really moving that fast unless they're spooked. So like if you're throwing a jig, you get hung in a rock a little bit, you pop it out. Yeah, that's okay. Sometimes you'll get bit doing that kind of stuff. But I mean, most of the time I'm dragging a jig like it's February. I saw Paul in the comments. He knows all about I'll drag a jig.
Well, you
Like
drag
it's
all
February
year.
all year.
All year,
It
so-
don't matter.
And that's the way I do it. All right, so let's go. Keep on scrolling up these comments. Let's see if we get the next question. Danny, you need to have a consignment area for some of us to sell this older stuff instead of it just sitting here and make a few bucks off of it. We have talked about that, Michael. We have actually talked about cleaning out a section and having a consignment. So let's do it. We will do that. We'll figure it out. I'll get in touch with you. I'll put it on the page because I've been talking about that for a long time. So we're definitely going to do that. So Austin Leroy, anybody experimented with a 1 ounce plus chatterbait as more of an offshore deep crank presentation? I have a buddy, Tyler Burt. He will throw a chatterbait in 30 foot of water. He likes to throw it deep. So I assume he uses a heavier one. I personally have not. You fish Gunnersville, so I imagine you're going through the grass and all that. You probably don't, when you get down in the deep ledges and stuff, you probably don't mess with it like that.
No.
And if you're going that deep, you're throwing either a shaky head or one of your minnows.
Yeah, something like that. Or a scrounger. I mean, I like a heavier scrounger.
I love
too.
a scrounger.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, if you ever get on Latham and you put a white full-size fluke on a scrounger head and just slow roll that son of a gun across the bottom, you will be amazed by the rod getting jerked out of your hands certain times of the year and in certain places. but it does happen right there. So, Slay Nation, there you go. So keep on going down. Being from Chattooga, Zach Lamb, what special bait are the Prince boys winning all these tournaments with?
If you find out, let us know.
I'll tell you this, and I'm
They
gonna
just
guess,
won on Murray. Congrats to them, by
Yeah.
the way. They just won.
they're
Big
good.
Murray.
They're good. I'm gonna tell you this. My guess is they've got that deep timber game. If they're on Lanier or something like that, they've got that deep timber game.
I think they're always doing the same stuff every time I see them. I feel like they're just more efficient at breaking down the water and timing. I think that's why they're so good.
They are good.
They've been timing those herring fish for at least 10 years since I was in college when they were taking my money all the time. Still are taking everybody's money down here. But I think they're just more efficient than everybody else.
I've asked Alex to come on the show, and he ain't going to do it because he knows I'm going to try to get the juice out of his butt. How do you all like the DC reels? Any special uses for them?
I don't own them.
You don't own 'em?
I cannot
I
stand that
actually-
squeal.
Yeah.
That noise, though.
It drives
Listen,
me
I love it.
nuts.
Yeah, you love it, you throw. But the
Yeah.
first, Josh got one. And I remember the first tournament we went to, and off the back of the boat, all I heard was,
I captained 2 kids in high school, and I got rods out of my rod box and gave them to them, put them up.
They're good reels.
They are. There's nothing wrong with
Just
them. I
like the
can't handle
Whopper
I
Plopper
can't
is a
handle
great
the thing.
bait. I can't stand the noise of Whopper Plopper
I
baits.
love it.
So you love it. You love the
Yeah.
DC reels.
Yeah.
I don't know as far as special uses. It just seems like they're just good. They're just damn good reels.
And they've actually held up. Like I was surprised with something like that with the digital chip in them. Like I was like, oh, it's not going to last. But I mean, I've had the same DC since I was in college. Like,
Gotcha. I want to show, while you're scrolling down, I want to show the people this rod and reel combo that I got right here in front of me. This was sent by Spro to me to do some video work with. This is their new rock crawler rod design, and it's designed for the rock crawler, but of course, any of the kind of cranking, and it's got the JC Elite. Now, Ken, we talked about yesterday. This is the LG, so it's the 9 ball bearing one, and the MG just came out. That's 11 ball bearing, correct? So, but anyway, so this thing hasn't even had line on it yet, and I'm gonna take it out and put it through its paces. I really like it. It's a 7.2, and it is a medium, 7.2 medium. So it's definitely got, guys come in the shop all the time and they're bending and everything.
oh, yeah.
So I'm looking forward
That's
to
a
it.
cool rod.
It is a cool rod, and I want to thank Spro for allowing me to do some work with this. I can't wait.
And you got to think with somebody that designed the bait first, they're going to get that rod right for that bait. I
Yeah, and
feel
so
like.
McCullen designed the rock crawler, right? And he's with
Well-
Spro and everything. Let me ask you this question for you guys: what pound test line should I put? This is a 5.6, 10 pound
10.
fluoro.
Yeah.
Okay, fluoro.
12-pound mono.
12-pound mono. So we got a mono, we got a fluoro. So I'm looking forward to this 5.6 because I love throwing a rock crawler.
Yeah.
Of all the crankbaits out there, that one's the one I got 100% confidence in.
Yeah.
Even if they ain't biting it, I feel like if I throw a rock crawler, I could just get slugged at any second.
It looks so natural, and the profile is so much different than a lot of crankbaits we throw. It's not as robust. It's kind of a slim profile. It looks more crawl like as far as like the length of it. Instead of like a lot of crankbaits are kind of wide, it's kind of that slimmer profile, a little bit longer. Like I think it just matches the hatch really well.
You know what the coolest thing is about a rock crawler? After you catch a couple of good spots on it, them damn teeth marks.
Oh yeah,
It's like a scar. I got that.
and they come with good hooks. I've never really
Oh,
changed
yeah,
out the
they're
hooks
great.
on them.
Absolutely. So again, Spro rock crawler. They got them for sale at Spro, and I think some of your better tackle shops. We ain't got them yet. I'll get them, but tackle shops got them. But I'm looking forward to putting this through its paces here in a couple of weeks, and I will report back to you guys, make a video on it, and let you know just how I like it. One cool thing about the JC series is, I don't know if you can see it here, but on the handle right there, you see that how this one's green. Every one of the different gear ratios has a different color on the end of these handles, so that when you're looking down and you want a specific rod for something, you can just what color is what speed and all that. Makes it a little bit easier. So, but I'm looking forward to this. So I want to thank Spro for sending that to me, and we'll see what it does.
What you know about that shrimp merliton dressing that Paul's talking about?
Listen, anything with seafood's good. I don't give what it's in.
Paul used to be a chef.
Listen, Paul, I'd love for you
He
to
kn- he
send
knows-
some for me to
he
try.
knows.
It sounds fancy. I don't know about the buttermilk pie, Tony, but I love buttermilk. I can drink buttermilk right out of the. It's like that kefir.
It's almost like kefir. Yeah.
I
so-
love buttermilk. My wife thinks it's gross. Fishing Hartwell as a code, one top water to do it all. Chugs, bugs, skimmers, SB 125 recommendations. You guys got anything? You only get one, and you're
I've fallen in love with a chug bug. I'd never thrown it until this summer, and I just started throwing it around. I caught them on Fontana. I caught them on Chattooga. I caught them on Glenville on it. It's been a fun bait to play around with. It's been a lot of fun.
It's very popular on Lanier, so I imagine it would work
Yeah.
on Hartwell. What about you?
Gunfish from Lucky Crab.
Gunfish makes sense. They're all good. I think it's really dependent on
The gunfish
know-
will spit and walk.
spit and walk. Sounds
So,
like a great date.
yep.
Spit and walk. All right. So Tom Erico says fluorescent colors at night during the wintertime. Appreciate that tip right there. I love it. Ron Swinford. I would love to find a scrounger that will not spin up your line. I've yet to find it though. Now I do throw mine on my spinning reel. That is one difference. I don't throw it on a bait caster. So I don't know if it's the braid helps that. So I don't know. I haven't had that problem yet, but I do understand that it could happen. Nathan Owens, Lake Hartwell. How do I catch? I love all you Hartwell guys starting to show up. This is great. How do I catch bass chasing schools of threadfin shad? Now, I would say
Small
you
match to
downsize your
match,
bait
yeah.
first. You downsize your bait. What else?
See how fast they're eating them. Like what are they? How are they acting in those schools? If you don't have forward facing, just look at how are they attacking that bait. Is that bait moving fast? Is it kind of coming up? Is it staying up? Is it moving around? Just to tell you, are you going to throw a top water in there? Are you going to throw something through them? Are you going to pendulum like a blade bait through them? Like how are they acting? And then water temperature is also a factor. So obviously, the colder the water temperature, the slower you want to present that bait. But really matching that hatch is super important. You can throw something that's close and they won't eat it, and something that looks exactly like it and they'll eat it every time. So definitely pay attention to what that bait looks like. I mean, sling a blade bait through that bait, try to snag you one, see what it looks like. I've done that a couple of times, just trying to see what does this bait look like? How big is it? And then you can go 2 creeks down and the bait's a completely different size and looks completely different. So don't be afraid to change it up too.
I know people are going to think I'm crazy. Keep you a decently heavy rooster tail.
Oh yeah.
Keep you a decently heavy rooster tail. When that bait gets small, I know people think that's dumb as hell, but I can go over to Latham. Huh? Are you telling me I can't do that? I got to help out my fellow anglers.
Summer on a
Barracuda.
Huh?
A Daracoop.
Yeah, that'll work too. I'm
But
telling
you got to keep it. One thing I do is if I find threadfin in a place, I whatever it is, I lower it. All right, they're in 15-foot of water. That bait's not going less than 4, no deeper than 14. You got to keep it over the top
Yeah, make them
of
come
that
up.
of that bait ball, make them come up to it. That's
Come
a
up.
big deal. If you don't have forward facing, it's okay. Like I said, just figure out the depth of that bait and keep it a foot or two above them.
Yeah, I can tell you when they get to schooling sometimes in the fall on Latham, and I know they're keying in on that smaller threadfin and all, not the herring so much. They lots of times they won't hit anything, but if you got a rooster tail, a white rooster tail, a pearl, silver, just trust me on that. You got to have the rod to throw it though. You got to be able to get it out there to them. So that rooster tail's got to be heavy enough. And I know that's not sexy, but it has helped me put fish in the boat when others things wouldn't.
We catch them on the Daracoop, dropping it straight down at Gunnersville.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Makes sense right there. Michael Temples, I need to demo that rod for you, Danny. You don't fish enough to test it. Listen, this is now my excuse to go. I'm getting product in. I got to go fishing. Else Pro ain't going to give me no more stuff. So we got to do that. So Ron Swinford says 10-pound Sunline Assassin fluoro for cranking. Line has a little more stretch. So for cranking, it's perfect. Far Dog up in Oklahoma, 10-pound fluoro is what I use on my Highland reservoirs. For all my old wiggle warts. Absolutely. Todd Huntley, who is the best guide at Lanier Christmas gift? A lot of great guides out there. Now, I'm going to tell you my personal favorites, and this is not because they're sponsors. If I was going tomorrow, and it depends on what you want to do, lipsticker fishing, number one. The guy just catches big fish. He's good with clients, and he will do the he's if you ever want to learn side scan, he's amazing. That would be that. And Brooks Anderson, he's younger, up and coming, he's hungry. Highly recommended. you can't go wrong with either of those. If you're younger, like I said, Brooks really loves the high school kids. So if you're getting the gift for a kid, that I might recommend Brooks on that. But if I'm going to catch megalodons, I'm going with Kevin. But you can't go wrong with either of those guys. They're fantastic. But there's a lot of good ones, and there's others that I could say. But I've been out with Kevin. Had a hell of a time. Alex, you've been with Kevin?
Yeah, I've been out with multiple guides on Lanier, and Kevin put me on the best bag of fish.
Yeah, best. Yeah, he's always on that. And as far as Brooks, he is smart. The character and all that.
Brooks is really, really good to talk to. Like it's all about the experience, right?
Mhm.
So the cool thing about social media, we got a lot of bad things about social media, right? But the cool thing is go look at these people. They're posting all the time, and you can see their personality pretty quick of how they're presenting their social media posts. Brooks posts a lot of videos. Like go watch one of his videos, see if that's a type of fishing you want to do. If you don't want to go out there and do that type of fishing, then go fishing with Kevin, or like they're all gonna catch fish. Like they're all really good at what they do.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's like, who do you want to go out with? Who do you want to spend time with? Or do both. Like, I mean, try it out and like see if you like it, because like at the end of the day, you're giving back to somebody who's already trying to give back to the community. Like guys that put their like go out and guide and put their time in, like you don't see what goes on in the back end for them trying to get better, trying to promote their business. They're out there in all of the elements. They're putting their money on the line, all their gas, like equipment, all this stuff. They're putting all this stuff out there on the line. The best thing you can do for a guide is show up, have a positive attitude. And at the end of the day, if you don't catch them, the guides understand that, and they'll talk to you and they'll figure out a solution to like make something happen. So like, no matter how you do it, like if you have friends that recommend one over the other, it doesn't matter. You really can't go wrong with any of these guides we've been talking about.
Yeah, 100%. I have not been on the boat with Brooks yet, and I will tell you this: he was talking about them giving back. Both of them are sponsors of this show. Both of them are sponsors for the Toys for Tots. Both of them are going to be fishing the Toys for Tots. They are really involved in what we do, and so that's what he's saying is of the utmost importance. How you judge a guide, because I'm not going to down any guides. What he said, they're all good. It's a hard job. And it all depends on what your expectations are. Kevin told me this story one time about a guy coming down from Tennessee in a terrible time of year, but he'd been seeing pictures of these 5-pounders and 5-pounders. And Kevin told him this ain't really the best time of year for this. We try, and that guy come down and he didn't get the 5-pounders he was looking for. He had unrealistic expectations. He caught fish, but it's all about your expectations. These guys will work their ass off for you. Either one of those guys. I just can tell you I've been in the boat with Kevin. I will be in the boat with Brooks. We're going to do some video work with him as well. So great stuff. Like you said, hell, do both.
Yeah.
Do both.
Do it all.
Michael Temples, what about a jig and spoon? Now, Bill Payne was on here the other night, and he talked about something a little bit different. A lot of guys fish that vertical. He's talking about when you're ditch fishing, casting that jig and spoon up the middle of that ditch and just bringing it back along the bottom.
So I tried his little.
Did you try it?
I tried his trick this past weekend with the little feathered treble up the line.
Yeah.
And I caught a spot in 72 foot of water, and it ate the feathered treble.
Are you serious?
Yep.
It worked.
Yep.
So what he's talking about is the other night, Bill was talking about he's got his jig and spoon. What is it, about 12 inches up, maybe 18?
Yeah, I did it. I mean, I tied it like Palomar knot, like you would for a drop shot.
Yeah.
And I did it with like probably a 12-inch leader.
12 inch
between
and
the
just a
feathered
feather treble. What size treble did you use?
It was just I think it was a size 2.
That's awesome though.
Yeah,
and
it's
it hit the treble
Yep.
in 72 foot of water.
Yep. It was
Hell
just a
yeah.
school of spots, probably like 10 or 20 spots down there just busting on threadfin. And I had a little 1/2 ounce Georgia blade spoon on there, jigging it through, and then popped it up off the bottom one more time, and it ended up getting the feathered treble. But like my biggest worry is like, what if they get both? And I'm like, I'm on 12 pound and like something's going to go wrong.
Something's going to go, but it's still. And see, again, that's the kind of little tips that you get on this show. Like Bill said it, you heard about it, you went out and tried it, and you caught a fish.
But if I was throwing just a regular spoon, I probably wouldn't got bit, right?
You
'Cause
might not
he
have.
bit that. So
I think that's awesome right there. Andrew, and I hope I say your name right. I'm going to say Feed. If I say it wrong, I apologize. What rod to throw on those top waters. I get one rod to throw the chug bug through the SB 125. So if you get one rod that will throw all those top waters, what are you guys throwing? And even more important to me, what line you using?
I would throw for both of because I throw both of those actually on 2 separate rods.
Okay, just kind of give them an option. So
I throw the chugging style baits on a Falcon 7-foot number 4. It's a medium action. And when I step up to the bills, I throw it on a 7.2 number 5, my 4-wheel drive. But I throw both of those on the poppers. I tend to throw straight braid, and on the Sebils, I throw fluoro. So split the difference, 7-foot number 5.
makes
Fill it
sense.
up with fluoro.
What about you?
I like the 7-foot top hammer that I was talking about earlier
Yeah.
from Alpha Angler. I mean, I can throw everything up to a 20 gram OG on it. I have it spooled up with 30-pound cast braid to 20-pound leader, 20-pound mono or fluoro. Like if it's an OG, I'll throw a fluoro leader. Anything else, just a 15 to 20-pound mono leader. Your Duo Realis walking baits, I'll throw a chug bug on it. There's just a lot of different things you can throw on it, and it's a super versatile rod that's going to do good.
I'll get to that comment here in a section. So Greg Holcomb says you ain't got to pull up, but Greg Holcomb says he fished with Kevin 2 times. He's awesome. Hi from South Carolina. Again, appreciate you guys right there. Far Dog, quick tip I've learned for wobblehead type baits is to use 15-pound green big game fishing line of a fluoro because it will not sink in the crack of rocks compared to fluoro. Good tip right there.
I like it.
Doc Holiday says Brooks really relates to the younger kids. So again, that's back to your suggestions. Ron, this has been my experience. I went fishing Monday on tuna and donated a jigging spoon to a brush pile after getting bit.
Sounds like he needs a plug knocker.
You need a
Sounds like
money
money
saver
saver.
lure retriever. We got them here at Fish North Georgia. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Farmer and I want to know Danny's favorite rod for punching mats. None.
He likes a 7-foot.
What did I throw it on?
A 7'3" Amistad Falcon heavy.
So if I were to go punching mats, that's what I would use.
Yeah.
Now I need to go back when the fish are actually biting while we're doing those punching mats
Yeah.
like that. So
I didn't like it too
I
much.
think we might have caught up with the comments and everything.
Look at that.
I think, did we catch up?
Yeah,
We are finally
we're
caught up. So
there.
good. All right. So how about this? Best all-around bait caster, if a guy can only buy one, speed, and not necessarily the brand, but the speed. A lot of guys get caught up in, hey, I need this speed, that speed. They got them up to 10 something, whatever. But you know, what's your basic all-around best speed of a reel for one guy, just one use?
Speed of a reel or speed
Yeah,
of the
the ratio of the reel.
I'd say like anything in the 7 range.
7s, that's just your all-around four-wheel
what I
drive
like.
kind of.
I got 6s and 4s, depending on what I'm doing. I mean, 6s and 7s, depending on what I'm doing.
But you can pretty much stay in that
Mhm.
range
Yeah.
right there.
That's a good range.
Nathan Owens, what's your favorite color jigging spoon? I just used a white.
White or silver.
Yeah,
I
white or
like
silver.
chartreuse.
Chartreuse. Why is that?
Spotted bass being around spots, they pisses them off.
There's something about chartreuse that does. But we know now, or at least that's what they tell us, is it looks white in the water.
Probably.
I have no idea.
I don't know, but I feel like it just makes them mad.
They hate it on the Coosa River.
Do they really?
I'm telling you, it's like daylight and dark.
I will say you can dip the tail of a shaky head in it many times, and that starts getting a lot more bites and everything. I don't know what it is. Far Dog uses a 6.3 to 1. What about you kayak guys back there? What I mean, all around.
So all around, I'll probably go like 6'4", 7'1".
So a
One-
little
one
bit
of
on the
those two.
slower side, but in that
Yeah,
medium.
I'd make up for it with cranks.
Okay, that makes sense. How about this? Shaky head rod, jig rod.
Shaky head rod, like reel wise.
Real rod setup. Like what's your setup for your, let's go jigs.
So a jig, I got a 7.3 medium fast Zilla.
That's what you like.
Yep.
Did you like the medium fast?
Yep.
Okay, what about you?
I'm a Falcon 7-foot lizard dragger.
Lizard dragger.
Yep.
Okay. What is the biggest mistake you think guys make when pulling up when they go to buy a reel or a rod, other than not knowing, you know, if they don't want to break it down into specifics? Say a guy doesn't know and he just goes and buys. I say, what's the biggest mistake you might make, or what could be your opinion or some advice you would give to that guy? Just getting started fishing, because
Well,
you can't
yeah.
overthink this crap.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to extremes, right? Like you have your 8-to-1s, your 10-to-1s, even with like the Revo Rocket and things like that. So that's your high end of speed. And then you get down to your reels in the 6s. Like you can't go wrong with meeting somewhere in the middle. Like when you're starting out, that's why I say like between a 6 or a 7, somewhere in there, meeting in the middle, you're not going to go wrong. Same thing with anything in fishing. Like if you meet somewhere in the middle, then you can start to dial in like, I think this rod's too, like if you go to cast a jig on a heavy and then you're trying to flip it around docks and things like that, and you're just not getting that jig where you want it to go, maybe your rod's a little too heavy. So that's when you'd go down to more of a medium heavy and then dial in like the length of a rod, because I love a 7.3, but you might like a 7-foot as far as like skipping a jig up under a dock, just because of the way our arms are built. I got these orangutans and you don't. So
I got the T-Rexes right here.
Yeah.
So
it's like, it depends on the size you are, because you could have a big old buddy. Like I had some buddies in college, Sawyer Ratcliffe and Walker Gillespie, and Sawyer's like 6'3", big old dude, and Walker's 5 foot nothing and shorter dude. And it's like, they're not going to be using the same rods for the same techniques, because they're totally different. Like they're built completely different. So like and you just match the rod, match the action, that kind of stuff, but you can't go wrong with meeting in the middle.
Yeah. Any tips or advice for guys from you?
One of the big things I think is if you can find a buddy or somebody that has the rods that you think you're going to purchase, try to get them to take you out. I mean, that's the best way. A lot of guys have been in the boat with me, and I'm like, try this rod. And they bought some Falcons. I know Tony's on here. He's bought some from recommendations I give him. I mean, I fished them for 20 something years.
Yeah. You like what you
I know
like.
exactly the biggest thing, I know exactly what I'm getting when I buy it. So it's not like I buy it and I get it here and it's not right.
Yeah.
It's what it's exactly what I want.
Allen MCD 82, Edge 854. It's a 7'3" medium heavy with a Chronarch 150 XG. That's a hell of a setup right there. I tell you what's funny. We all do it, but I love when guys come in the shop, they pick up a rod and they put it right down and they start bending that thing. Okay, you can take, and maybe let's put it this way. Why is there no industry standard? Because a medium heavy arc is different from a medium heavy Abu, different from a medium heavy Falcon. They're all just a little bit different. Why is there no just straight industry standard?
I mean, line's the same way. I mean, a lot of things in fishing are the same way. There is no industry standard, just because the process is different at the end of the day. The way Jake builds an alpha angler versus somebody at Falcon builds their rods, their process is different. And everybody has their own way. Like, it's just
Components
like
are different.
you fish a shaky head different than I fish a shaky head versus how you fish a shaky head. Like, we all fish it just a little bit different. So at the end of the day, it's about preference. And the only way to find your preference is to fish it and then go through your pros and cons at the end of the day. I skipped a jig all day and I got this many bird's nests and I couldn't put the jig where I wanted to. You got problems. So like, that's when you have to identify your problems, figure out like, why was I not putting it there? Was my rod too long? Was my rod too short? Was my cast too hard? Was my brake set too loose? Like, there's a lot of different variables in it. It's just, think about it. Like, a lot of us get so caught up on catching the fish. We're like, if we would have made our better presentation and put our jig in a better place throughout the day, because we had the right rod, we had the right setup for things. Like, you can have some rod brands chatterbait rod and then another rod brands chatterbait rod, and they load completely different.
Yeah. Well, the reason I bring that up is, okay, hey, let's just say a lot of guys buy online now.
Yep.
And it's really tough when you have been fishing, say, a Falcon. Say you want to make a change and try a different company, but you know, because you're fishing for 20 years, what a medium heavy Falcon rod is.
Yep.
You go to a online store, order a rod that's a medium heavy, and you get it, and it's totally, totally different.
Right.
So that's why I was kind of like, why is there not an industry standard like X amount of? I don't know what.
Well, that's where
you know what I'm saying. They're different, and you got to feel it, and you may or may not like it once you get it. If you don't hold it in the store or Get
Well,
the
that's where
fish
you
with
get
like one of
brand-
your buddies
yeah.
or something.
That's where you get brand loyalty, though, at the end of the day, because it's like, if I'm gonna, like, my deck is 90% Alpha Angler rods because that's what I've liked. I found the niche that I liked.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then you've got a lot of Falcons. Like, you probably don't have a whole lot that are differ from that because you found what you liked. Right.
Makes
But
sense.
34 of them.
yeah,
How many?
I don't own it. I have 34. I don't own anything else.
34 rods.
I carry 28 in the boat.
Good.
carry
That's what we.
Lord.
That's what we had when we fished.
Okay, how about this? Got 'em gang Ken. Any of you guys do well with the power shaky heads? Big worm.
Yes.
summertime, baby.
Summertime.
Gunnersville ledges.
Ledge fishing.
But you throw it on shaky head.
I throw it on my same shaky. I throw it on my spinning rod. I throw it on the same 7 foot.
Okay, for those that
Number
don't
5
know,
Falcon.
what is a power shaky head?
Begging.
Like when we say
Heavy.
big, what are we talking about?
7 to 10.
So like I throw a Berkeley Maxent hit worm. I throw the big
Yeah.
hit worm on a shaky
I'll
head.
throw a.
Would that be considered kind of the same thing we're talking about?
I'll throw the mag trick worm. I'll throw the old monster. It's
Yep.
really good up on Gunnersville. But like I said, I just upsize that rod I throw goes from like, I don't know, it's really small up to like 3/4.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a couple of shaky heads that I throw up there when the current gets ripping that are half 5/8. The shaky head is 5/8. Then I
Damn.
attack a worm. You have to.
We have to
If
get it
they're
down on
pulling
the
100
ledges. Yeah.
If they're pulling 100,000, you
Yeah.
throw a 3/16 out there, it's going by the back of the boat. It never hits bottom.
But on Chick, when I was fishing them ledges, I actually downsized to a really light one, and I would take it because it was current. So I would throw it at the start of the rock ledge,
Let it
and
wash.
I would let it almost like trout
Oh,
fishing.
fly
Wash.
fishing.
I
boy
just
over
I would
here.
just let it roll right down, and that's what them largemouth were hitting that day. But I get
Yeah.
what you're saying.
If it's washing, that's not a bad thing. I mean, hell, Matt Herron's made a fortune on the damn Coosa River washing
yeah.
a jig.
I thought that was great. So Ken Pruitt, love my buddy Ken. So Kendra wants to know, trap rod. What rod do you throw in your traps on? Your rattle traps.
I throw it on that 7'2" number 5 medium heavy. That's what I caught some fish on this last weekend. I'll have some posts for Spro up here next day or so.
So you're throwing out a
Aruka
shad. I want to make sure I
Mhm.
said that right there.
Yep.
So Joshua, I always say go good. I hope I'm saying it right. Falcon rods. Finesse jig rod is my 3/8 jig shaky head, 1/4 ounce or a chatterbait. It works for most everything. So that's like his 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's a really good rod.
And that's like the 7.4 FX that I got spinning rod. I'll throw a shaky head on it. I've thrown a Ned rig on it. I've thrown a drop shot on it. Now, sometimes that is out of necessity because I didn't have another rod, but I found that rod, at least I'm comfortable with it enough to throw several different
And it's cool when you
presentations.
find rods like that. When you find that sweet spot rod that you can throw multiple presentations on, you find yourself grabbing that rod more often throughout the day.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, that 7.2 I throw, it's my top water rod, it's my scrounger rod, it's my I cranked with it last summer. I throw a hair jig on it.
But you got 34 rods.
I know, but I've got about 8 of those. If I go to the
Yeah.
Coosa River and I flip, a lot of times I'll flip that rod because it's not so heavy. So when you set the hook on a 12-inch spot, you don't have him coming over the top of the boat and getting off.
Yep.
I'll
That
lighten
makes
my
sense.
rod up depending upon where I'm fishing. So if I'm fishing at Gunnersville, I'm going to go heavier. If I'm going to Coosa River, I'm catching 12, 14 inchers. I don't want to rip him up under a dock. If you pull that fish out of the air, you're going to lose him.
Yeah.
About 50% of the time, he's going to get off. So I soften my rod up. I get the fish hooked. I can still get him out and get him in the boat.
Makes sense right there. So got him gang Ken. Okay, he wanted to make sure because he's okay using the spinning setup on a big worm shaky set. I do.
Absolutely.
Listen, I will tell you that there are times when I will throw my shaky head on a bait caster, but I would say 90% of the time I'm using a spinning setup.
A lot of the guys in Gunnersville do. I've been out with a couple of those guys. They do throw it on a bait caster, but I'm gonna tell you what. At the end of the day, if that's what they're biting, you're gonna be way less fatigued throwing it on a spinning rod than you will a bait caster.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to sit there and just shake that rod with that spinning rod than it is to fight a bait caster.
And I think
It's not
it's the way you hold it and everything.
And you got to think about your shoulder dynamics too. Like, I mean, coming from like lifting weights is like when you have an open palm facing up with a bait caster versus having your palm down with a spinning rod. It's definitely a different dynamic, and you're working your deltoids differently when it comes to holding a rod all day. And that fatigue, it depends, like just literally your hand being like this versus like this is a completely different fatigue on your body throughout the day. So little things like that make a big difference.
That's a good point, because I don't think I've had anybody in the history of this show ever bring up that little tip.
Yep.
Open palm versus palm on top.
Mm-hmm.
Now we talk about fatigue throwing like big swim baits and stuff,
Yep.
throwing your heavy stuff, but just in a difference between a bait caster and a spinning rod.
It's all about those little things.
Well, it makes at the end of the day, or if you're fishing a tournament, it's 2:00 and you still got an hour fishing and have a little more energy. And
Because think
and all
about
that.
what happens when you get tired. Like when you get tired, you're not presenting the bait like you were at 8:00 that morning. You're not being as efficient. You're not making as many casts. You're
Right.
moving a little bit slower. So the more you prevent that fatigue throughout the day, the more accurate you are, the better chance you have of getting another bite, the better chance you have at setting the hook properly, landing that fish, getting that fish in the boat, and making the proper call throughout the day. Like you want your energy to be the same at 8:00. It's just like your batteries. You don't want to be running batteries to where you're seeing everything clear at 8:00 and you don't have the proper wiring harness or whatever in your boat to where by come 1:00, everything doesn't look right. Like it's starting to fade.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be losing juice throughout the day if you can help it. So how do you keep your body, your mind, and your equipment running the most efficient throughout the day? It's by taking that extra time, that extra steps to be more efficient throughout the day.
Makes sense. When do you guys throw a low gear ratio reel? Now, I would think for a lot of people, the obvious answer would be crankbaits, but not everybody does that. Not everybody does that. You don't do that. I think we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
You don't either.
Well, here's the thing. If I am on Lanier or I'm shallow cranking, it's always a 6.2. Now, when we get offshore on those ledges and you start throwing 10XDs and DT20s, a 6.2 will absolutely wear you out.
Makes sense.
I go to a 5. Most of the people up there that I know, a lot of them still crank with the 5s. Like Lou's made that BB1 is a phenomenal reel. You can throw it. I got the Shimano, the 200 in the 5. I can throw the BB1 about 5 yards further, but both of those reels in that 5.0, you can sit there and you can crank it all day because it will wear you out. And that's another thing, talking about positioning and fatigue. Throwing that big plug, you throw it out there and you better point that rod at that crankbait and go to reeling. If you hold it to the side, you're not going to do that for more than 2 or 3 hours. Your wrist will kill you.
Makes sense. Good tip. What was you saying about that question?
So I'm the opposite. I really don't have a reel that's other than my Huddleston rod for wintertime counting rocks. Like everything I have is seven or more.
Yeah.
So really in that 7 to 8, I don't really have anything faster than 8, but I like that sweet spot in the middle. So but my deep cranking rod, I have an 8.2 because I like to speed crank that thing, especially when they're eating a deep crank good. I like burn pause, like burning it through stuff, stopping it, burning it, stopping it, burning it, stopping it. And for me, the fatigue's not there as much with that bigger plug as when you're having more revolutions per minute, right? With that bigger plug. So it's all about the speed at which you're cranking and thinking about it. So I don't get super technical when it comes to that, but I like a faster reel just because it works for me, but it might not work for everybody.
Well, it's an interesting question. That's why when Spro, when I was talking to him about this, I said, set me up what you guys think would be the best reel for this for rock crawler cranking. And so their recommendations was the 5.6. So we'll see, but you're right. It just depends on the person. Here's a question from Joshua again.
Good.
Wild question. One more up. There you go. Is there a hook limit on an A-rig in Georgia? Can I throw a Shane's 9-wire bait? I don't think.
I think it's 5, isn't it?
Is
5.
is it 5?
It's 5 in Georgia.
But you can
5
throw
in
the 9-arm. You just have to put 4 dummies. On it.
dummies. Yeah, you
So
can only
you
have
dummy.
5 hooks.
So just get like a owner screw lock, just the owner screw lock, and it's just a screws
It's a
into a
hitchhiker's.
swim bait.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah,
but
it's 5.
and that might be,
And that's pretty
across.
universal
That's what I was
until
going
you
to
get
say.
Tennessee's 3, Minnesota's 1. Like there's a bunch of different. So definitely check into your local regulations. But Georgia, I'm
Yeah,
almost positive is
it's 5. Georgia and Alabama are the same.
Okay, well, there you go. 5. So there's the answer to that. So Austin Leroy, tips to get those 25 cranks down. I have a 7'9", 20-pound braid and constantly stuck at 15 foot.
It's because braid floats.
So first thing you would do is change the line.
Braid to fluoro. Yeah.
Braid to
Or,
fluoro.
so I would go to straight fluoro is what I'm saying. So change over from using that braid to going straight fluoro.
Okay. Any other tips? So other than that, you think that's pretty much the majority of the problem?
The biggest thing is he needs to get it out there.
I was going to say the length of the cast.
The length of the cast is huge. I get a crankbait deeper on a slower reel. On that 5, I can get that crankbait because, like I say, I throw the 20s out there all the time. I can hit 20 feet easy.
But you're throwing it on fluoro too, right?
I'm not.
Mono?
I'm throwing it
No,
on
you're
mono.
throwing it on mono.
But
Okay,
you're
I
not
like
throwing it on braid.
I'm not throwing on braid. The deal is that mono I throw, you'd laugh. It's $10 a spool. I've been throwing it for almost 20 years. And the guy I was with this last year, he goes, "Are you gonna retire that?" I'm like, "Nope." He got done. He goes, "I'm switching." He said, "I've never seen it." We caught
What
fish.
is it again?
It's Suffix Pro Mix.
Pro mix.
It's a mono.
Is it a copoly or is it a mono?
It's a mono.
Okay.
The
Cool.
tritanium is a copolymer, but this stuff right here, I'm snapping DT20s and 10XDs. The damn bait weighs an ounce.
Yeah.
And we're firing it out there. It doesn't break hard.
That's cool. I might try it. I like it.
Right there. So Dane Hunter says that real choice will change when you get some age on you.
Yeah.
Hey, Dane, I know that feeling there, buddy, right there
That's
for
some
sure.
young whippersnappers.
You know,
But I catch
kids.
small fish and he catches big ones, so there's a difference.
I got you right there. So Joshua says, big bait, swim baits, A-rig, deep crank. I will throw a low gear ratio reel as well. Anything I need torque in.
Yep.
You would not like it to take off in a muscle car in third gear.
Yeah.
I get what he's saying right
Yeah.
there. So makes sense right there. A couple of guys in the comment section were talking about a guide have said Jeff Nail. So again, like I said, they're all are really good. It just depends on, personality. Also too, it's almost like a co-angler. You got to get that personality right of that guide too. So Dane Hunter, this is pretty good. You guys can check it out. Here is a link, all right, to the number of hooks by state for A-rigs. Now pull that comment up right there. You guys can see it. Now, I don't know if on your side it actually shows up as a link, but you can just type in from HTTPS all the way through.
Or if you're on YouTube, just screenshot it real quick, and you can always go into your Photos app and highlight on it.
See.
Little camera nerd tip there.
These young kids, like
Yeah.
I'm typing it out, and you're like, "This is how you
I'm
need
just
to do
saying,
it."
Trying to
make
write
it
it
easier
down
on
right
yourself. Yeah, screenshot it. Hold on to where it says HTTP,
It'll say
and then
copy.
you'll scroll over and copy, paste into the Google.
I love it.
I do
Pro
not do
tip.
that.
I did not listen. I thought copy and paste, and I do know how to copy and paste. I thought that was the greatest damn thing the first time I figured it out.
But
And
now
that
you
was-
can do it out of pictures, which is crazy.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Okay, I just learned something right there.
Yeah.
So now listen, now, when you guys want to know about A-rigs, I don't know how much Clint throws them. The man to my left throws the hell out of them.
I'm not an A-rig guy.
Listen, though, he throws it in 6 foot of water with 4 foot of grass
Well, that's because where he's fishing.
at Gunnersville.
Yeah.
It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen.
And they catch them on Lanier and these herring lakes. I don't throw it. I don't even have one in a boat. I won't throw it.
Let me ask you this. A lot of guys talk about an A-rig being a wintertime bait, but I know some guys that throw it year round.
They do. It seems to excel from when the fall bite hits. Like we were up there, fish go to school, and it's just a big school of fish swimming through. From now till probably April, 1st of April, I'll have it with me, and then I put it up. I don't throw it in the summertime. It just seems like everything needs to move a little faster
All
than
right,
A-rig.
so Joshua says Georgia has no limit. So I guess check
Okay.
those things. So that listen, and I don't know all the time. There's so many damn regulations and stuff like that I can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
So Dane Hunter says, Danny, when we copied and pasted, it was with a copier and glue.
No kidding.
No doubt. I remember when Whiteout came.
Oh yeah.
You'd be writing a paper and all that. So
Just have to
guys,
buy
we're
paste.
getting close to the end of the show. So if you got any questions, you want to get them in real quick before we do that. And while I got a second, again, I want to remind everybody about the Toys for Tots tournament. This is the last week November 29th is the end date to get pre-registered for this event. $5,000 first place prize. It's $80. Go to Buford Dam Bait and Tackle or come here to Fish North Georgia if you're in the area. And if you're not in the area, you can call me at 678-283-6700 and I can help you do it online. A little Venmo power right there and everything. Are you guys going to do the kayak?
So we're trying to get more people. If you guys want to sign up, if there's more kayak guys still in here, sign up. We've only got 6 people right now. We're probably going to end it and cancel it if we don't get more people.
Yeah.
So we're going to give it until Thanksgiving. If we don't get some more interest, it's not going to happen.
I understand. So listen, guys, that's a big thing. You know, I realize we push the boater side of it a lot, but there's a lot of you kayak guys out there, and we will make sure if we can figure out how to do it. If y'all do have a tournament to get you some love, maybe the winners over there, I don't know, maybe if y'all ended an hour earlier than us or something, but somehow to get the winners over to the weigh in at Laurel Park.
We could 100% figure that out
and give you guys some love. Gotta work. Hey, listen, and if you gotta work and you can't show up, send some toys somehow, some way, figure it out. And if you're not going to fish it, just come by and hang out with us.
Yeah, that's another thing too. You can just Amazon your toys or Target, whatever, directly to Festive Water or here, Nathan said, to send them here as well. And we can handle that. You guys don't have to fish to donate a toy. So it's not very expensive.
I gotta get your camera there fixed because every time you pull it up, I get like sick. I don't know. When will the kayak one be? It would be the same day, December 7th.
Same day, December 7th. We're gonna do it lake-wide, and it's on Tourney X. There's a link up there. Just search Toys for Tots Lanier, and it's the only one that pops up.
Okay, There you go. So, but hey, listen, it's still, that event's going to be great. So I tell you what, it looks like we've caught up with the comments and all that. So I think this will be a great time to kind of end this show a little bit. I hope you guys learned some stuff. So Clint and Dave, I appreciate you guys throwing out the juice and all that. And again, Toys for Tots, we want as many anglers, especially from Hartwell and Lanier and Allatoona and all you North Georgia guys, just to get together, because not only are you helping a good cause, but the cool thing is we all get to hang together for an afternoon. And would love to meet a lot of you guys in person. Clint will be there signing autographs. And
you can sign my quad.
The quad?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know about that. Sign your quad. He's Quadzilla like that. So
one thing I was going to say is that I've had several people reach out to me about falcons. I will be fishing. I'm going to donate to Emil and Lip Sticker on that day. So anybody that wants to come by after the tournament
and talk about the Falcon rods,
I'll be there. I'll have about basically most every model they make. Just get with Danny. I'm in a silver 520 Ranger. So come by, see me. I'll let you throw them. We'll get on the dock, do whatever we need to do. But
that's
anybody
awesome.
that wants to look at them, piddle with them, just come by and see me.
So I like that. And I'll do the same with Alpha Angler rods. I've got the whole lineup too. So I'll be fishing there for that tournament. So if you guys want to feel them, see what it feels like, I got a deck full of them. So I'll be in a old 2000 Skeeter, son. So.
And as far as me, if you just want to come by and get a hug,
yeah,
I'll just give you a hug or something like that. But cool thing is, like I said, we're going to be doing the podcast and all that. Hopefully, Alex, the kayak guys will get their act together and get signed up because we'd love to see everybody. We want to make it a big event. So with that, we're going to end the show. And I want to say this. It's Tuesday night, Thursday's Thanksgiving. You get a chance, spend time with your family, appreciate it. But I want you to think about the police officers, the nurses, the firemen, the military, those guys that are not going to get to spend the day with their family. Keep them in your thoughts and all that. You see them out and about as you're traveling between your households and your lunches and your dinners going to it, and you see one of them, thank them. Thank them. Thanksgiving is a good time to thank those people that have to work on these holidays and the glue of our society that keep that stuff going. So make sure you reach out to them. And I hope you guys take this week and actually sit back and have a little gratitude at what you've been blessed with your family and the opportunities that we do have. We live in a great nation where we get to do this. So that there, Tim and I will be working, Dana and all them. So Cedartown will have Barney Fife and I don't know, what's another cop? All I know is Barney. But anyway, again, I'm just joking with them guys. But seriously, take some time, but appreciate the holiday And if you got one of them wives like mine that's been putting up Christmas decorations and all that already, try to accentuate Thanksgiving a little bit and appreciate it. But guys, we love you. All you guys in the comment section, thank you. No show Thursday night. I'm going to be stuffing my face and watching football. We'll be back the following Tuesday with another great episode here on the live. Well, you guys enjoy your weekend. We love you and we appreciate it. And y'all be safe out there. It's going to be cold as hell on that water this weekend. So with that, we're out.